Welcome into Rebound Off the Net, our first episode as we press toward 2025 season. I'm your host, Joshua Cox. Today we welcome in a special guest as we're joined by the president of the Albany Firebirds, Mr. Jeff Levack. Welcome to the show, man. Great to talk to you.
Good to talk to you again, Joshua. Yeah, I look super presidential in the off season in my hoodie, my hat. Just I'm taking a couple minutes today to start trying to fix some of the stuff around the house that I didn't do, during the season. But thanks, man. It's good to talk football with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, we'll get into the specifics of the season here in just a minute, but first off, as just a guy that's a fan and covers the league, it's been an exhausting season for me. What has this year been like for you, and has it been crazier than 2023?
Crazier in a different way. Luckily for me, my experiences with arena football, I've been a part of starting new teams, reopening markets, bringing back teams. So I've never had what I guess like what some would call a ordinary season. So it started out amazing. Like the promises that were made, we kind of knew that we couldn't count on all of them to come through, just because how can you? The old rule, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. I think I even told you last time I talked to you, we were hopeful for half of the promises to come through, and then we would be living the dream. But it was the ownership group here made everything the best it's ever been for me. Probably the best it's ever been for the fan base. It was definitely crazy, and you never knew what to expect one day to the next. But again, I can't say enough about Mike Korda, Andy Gelcher, and Richie Cesnat. Those three, I knew from day one, with those three involved, no matter what happened with the league, we were going to play a full home schedule for the fans. If they had to go get another team put together to play the schedule, we would have played the schedule, because they want football here. They're all football fans. So knowing that, having that in my back pocket all along, it gave me a confidence that I don't know if I've ever had before.
Yeah, I talked to you back in January. We entered the season with great hopes about what it was going to be. This is the first time I've asked somebody this on air, but in the weeks going into the season, in the first couple of weeks of the season, when did you have your first oh shit moment that things under the original leadership was going off the rails?
I think it was, I was pretty blessed, because my main focus was just making sure everything was locked down here. You know what I mean? Like working with the MVP arena and all that stuff. So I'd say it was probably about two and a half, maybe 3 weeks before kickoff, where you kind of got that vibe that things were weird. Like it wasn't fully clear yet, but it was one of those ones where like I was hearing certain things, and then like the owners were hearing certain things, and like head coach, general manager Damon Ware was hearing certain things, and then we got a chance to all sit down together and go, "What'd you hear? What'd you hear? What'd you hear?" And we made some calls, and we knew that it was going to be rough rafting. We knew that there were waves ahead, but at that point, I still felt pretty good. The day that it really, really, really like, I audibly, probably didn't even say it quietly, yelled, "Oh shit," is when I found out that Tupelo Honey, which was the production company the NFL Network was using, was not coming. Like that day, because I'd been working with them because we'd already staffed our game. Like we knew who our red hat was going to be. The red hat's the one who communicates between the ump and the TV people and all. We knew who all those people were. And then Tupelo Honey calls, and they're like, "Hey, we're staffing it." So I'm like, "Well, here's my list. If you like it, use it. If you don't, don't." And they were so cool with us that the lady called me back and was like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but we're not coming." Mm-hmm. And then once I heard that was, oh shit might be the nicest thing I could say at that point. Like I think there was a lot more four-letter words that flew out of my mouth at that point, but that was the one. That was because we would have historically in this market 7:00 Saturday nights. That's the sweet spot. That's when people come to the games. And we were doing all different times. 8:00 at night. We're doing 2 in the afternoon. All these different to appease the NFL Network. If they weren't involved, mm-hmm. I want to kick at 7:00 Saturday night. That's when my fans want to be here.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, listen to your all's radio show and flock you a little bit. You're a really positive dude like me. How was you able to remain positive throughout this season?
Damon Ware. That guy. If there's somebody who's better at crossing T's and dotting I's than Damon Ware, I don't know him. Mike Korda and Andy Gelcher, Richie says that those dudes, that group, they're different, man. Like they don't. Mike has this ability to let you know what's going on without pulling any punches, walk out of the room, you're like, it's the end of the world. Like, there's a meteorite coming. Like, it's it. You know, T-Rex is outside. And then come back into the room 15, 20 minutes later and go, I figured it all out. Here's what we're doing. And then, like, Andy Gelcher is that exact same guy. And Richie says that is the same guy. So, like, now all of a sudden, I went from having a guy I've known since kindergarten who's that to now I've got 4 of those dudes. Because I got Damon, I got everybody. So I always, like I said, I always knew that we would find a path. I mean, my old, you know, Joshua, I know we just started talking like a season ago, but I've always been envious of the markets and the teams, like the Orlando Predators, who they're basically league proof. Like, you know, they don't, you put 3 letters next to them, they're still kicking off. Like, that doesn't matter what 3 letters. So I've always said I want us to be league proof. That's always been my goal from day one. If I'm the president, if I'm the media guy, if, you know, I'm the on-field guy, I want to be league proof. I want to kick off on Saturday, you know, and if it's the AFL, the NAL, the IFL, the Joshua and Jeff League, like, I want to kick. And with those guys involved, and Drogon, the cat who is making his debut. Sorry, Joe, you can't play right now. I knew that we would figure something out because, again, like we have our rivalry with Orlando is built from respect. Mm-hmm. So I knew worst case scenario, we got a home and away with Orlando. You know, Steve Titus of Billings. The first time I ever talked to him, I'm like, okay, this guy's a kindred spirit. Like, this guy is all about getting it done for the fans. So I knew we had a home and away with Billings. You know, like, if the league fell apart in the middle of it all, we would have built a schedule. So I was never calm, but I always knew, unlike 2023, I knew that we could fulfill our promises to the fan base, to the flock. So that was, once I knew the flock was going to be happy by the time this was over, I'm good. Like, after that, I can make everything else work.
Yeah, that's most important.
Yep.
You had 2 all-time great games, one being the game against the Hawks. Coach Ware is known for being a very detail-oriented guy, and maybe the only one that night that knew there was a 4-point play in the AFL. What was your greatest memory from that night and other great memories from this season?
So we call him the professor. That's why we call it Flock University. Flock U is the coach's show. That night, I remember being... So it's the Zamboni Tunnel is what they call it, because it used to be hockey games played there. And that's where we stand and watch the game. It's right behind that wall in the end zone. And I'm sitting there doing the math right away. They're like, okay, how do we still win? I'm like, all right, touchdown, 2-point conversion, kick the deuce, ties the game, blah, 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 and then we do this. And all of a sudden I hear the ref go, Albany has elected for the 4-point conversion. And my jaw dropped because I remember, you know, Coach giving me the rule books early in the year. He'd already read through them. And he said, and I quote, I'm never going to let this gimmicky bullshit 4-point play make it to the final rule book. Well, with everything happening, with everything going crazy, it got into the rule book. So final rule book, he read it, you know, and here he is. If he doesn't use it, he's a terrible coach, you know. So my jaw dropped, and I remember telling all local media, I was like, that's why we call him the professor, you know. And we call that game, my buddy Steve, who runs the Flock Support, which is our support team, our booster club. He called it the Miracle on South Pearl Street. So I love that name. That's great. Never seen anything like it. And the Orlando game to start the year, again, those guys like John Chaney and Sean and everybody down there, like we know each other so well. It's like it's like beating your brother. You know, you got to beat your brother. You got to beat your brother. So that was great. This team this year, like Joshua, this group, the players, like, I mean, I don't think I've ever had a group of guys that, like, obviously my house is in shambles, I'm not inviting anybody over, but I would have invited the whole team over for dinner if I could. If I could fit them and I could afford to feed them, the beasts that they are, I would have had the whole group over for dinner. It was, as much as it was a tough season, and you know, I knew there was going to be bumps in the road. I didn't know they'd be, you know, craters. It was the group of guys that I'm thrilled I got to meet for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Y'all played one of the most difficult schedules, or probably the most difficult schedule in the league. You played more games than a lot of other teams. Coming down the stretch, you lost to Billings, Orlando to end the regular season. You didn't play great against Salina in the playoffs, and you lost the Arena Bowl. You are probably the most talented roster in the league. Do you feel like your schedule wore you all down and maybe hurt you from getting the end outcome that you wanted?
I mean, it didn't help. it didn't help. But I we we kind of have a reputation up here of being, kind of big mouths, kind of being full of ourselves, and we've won a lot, So I think when you're the first one to pat yourself on the back, you got to be the first one to point at yourself when something goes wrong. Billings played a hell of a game. I mean, take everything else out of it, however you want to do it. Billings played the kind of game that we had the same problems, right? Like Albany's support staff, myself, Nick Vidar, my game day ops, Zach and Ben and all my guys, we helped build that game behind the scenes. But like the coaching staff and the players had to deal with the same thing as each other. So they beat us. Orlando, I mean, we were Orlando's Arena Bowl. Let's not pretend that Orlando gave two squats about the Arena Bowl. Orlando wanted to beat Albany, and they finally did. An Orlando team that didn't involve Antonio Brown, I should say. They wanted us, and they got us. And again, Billings is a hell of a team. You know what I mean? And I think what we've done is we've established that we're a different team than we were when we were the Empire. We're playing a different style of ball. We've got a heavier focus on defense than we've ever had before. And I think there's some growing pains to that. And to that schedule point, yeah, that was tough, but just perfect storm. Everything came together, and teams played their absolute best games against us, and we didn't play our best games down the stretch. But if you think there's any chance you're going to take us down again, you're out of your minds. Enjoy that one. Savor the flavor, kids.
We're going to talk about Orlando a little bit here. Your rivalry with Orlando kind of escalated this season. You had some back and forth on your radio shows to start the postseason. Coach Ware told me before the season, quote, "Is it a big rivalry? It really isn't. It isn't necessarily a rivalry because a rivalry is something that happens on the field. No disrespect, we never lost to Orlando since I've been here. If it's back and forth, then it would be," end quote. Orlando beat you all this year. Has things changed? Do you really hate each other? And I know you and Coach Ware are different, but how do you feel about Orlando now?
No, there's not. It's not hate. It's definitely not hate. I mean, from whistle to whistle, yeah, it's hate. I mean, like from whistle to whistle, it's absolutely hate. But no, familiarity breeds contempt. And they're the only team that is an easy trip for us. You know what I mean? Like for us to go to Billings is buses, planes, trains, automobiles. We go down to Orlando, it's 3 hours in the air, up, down, and then we play, and then we come home, and the same for them. They come up and play us. So they're the closest thing we have to like a close rivalry, and that's always been a thing. But if you go back to when the Empire came back in 21, it was Ron Tradico, Nate Starling Jr., and Mike Korda, and then John Kane jumped in. But those first two names, those guys were the Orlando Predators. They were the owners of the Orlando Predators, and they helped launch the Albany team. So when Antonio Brown screwed everything up here, Mike Korda, who still had a very good relationship with Nate Starling Jr. Nate Starling Jr. is one of the greatest guys on the planet, by the way. And John Chaney and I have a lot in common. We're big fat loudmouths who are never going to shut up, and we're always going to, and we're doing it for fun. And if you don't like the joke, well, it's as much your fault as it is ours. That's who we are. He just has a little more money than me and definitely louder shirts. But our guys went down there to try and chase that championship that we tried to get for them up here. And they weren't embraced the way that we thought they would be. And that was a problem, and that was something that I think has finally been rectified, but it needed to be. It's like, again, like when you're brothers or your best friends and a stupid little argument goes too far, and you just at some point you just need to throw hands, roll around in the dirt a little bit, get back up, dust yourself off, and everything's okay. So I say that, but trust me, the first time they come to Albany, or the first time we go down there, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be real.
Yeah. What was your thoughts and experience on playing the Arena Bowl at American Dream? Is that something you'd want to do again? Do you like a neutral site championship game, or would you rather it be played at the best team's arena?
Best team's arena. It's weird because I didn't like them all because the preparation wasn't there. Mm-hmm. The people who thought of it, the goal was to get the maximum exposure for the league, and that worked. Like, so for that above all else, I liked it. If that was a exhibition game, week 1, week 2, or if a team like played all their home games at American Dream Mall or Mall of America or something like that, and it was set, it was kind of cool. Like it was kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was kind of cool. But again, it just wasn't. It wasn't streamlined enough for it to be a championship game. Like there was a point where I looked over and the replays, the challenges, were on laptops. So you couldn't see the play in real time on the field, but now you're gonna see it on a 12-inch screen. Like there was little things that no one thought of going into it, that should have been fixed. And if they had been fixed, I think it could have been pretty amazing. But looking back at it, it's special. And if we had won it, I probably would look at it even more, glowingly. But almost 5 million people watched live. So I've never had. I think our record here in Albany is, I think it's like 15,000, 12,000 in the house. And I think another like 3,000 to 5,000 online. So that kind of thing, like you can't argue results like that. When that many people see your game played, and even though SportsCenter was more or less making fun of it, it was on SportsCenter, so it worked. Again, streamline all the little issues. It would be a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah. You all didn't reach your ultimate goal this year, but what are you most proud of what you accomplished this season as a franchise?
Man, it was in a way, it was a great year. It's hard to, again, you know this, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm obviously a big Mouth Raider fan, a Michigan fan. I got a championship over there now. I've got, my time with the Empire. I've got 3 rings. I love winning. Like it's so much fun. I don't believe in moral victories all that much, but I do think the way we got through this year as a family, it kind of was a moral victory. Like, the team, and not just the team on the field. Like people think that I'm kissing up to my bosses, but when I keep talking about Mike Corda, Andy Gelcher, and Richie says that, I'm not that guy. Like I do a radio show up here Monday through Friday, 3 to 6, and I flambe my bosses every day because of anything they do wrong. These 3 guys are the reason we made it, and they're the reason that we want to keep going. Like, I didn't know if I was still going to do arena football. After what happened with Antonio Brown, I had some weird experiences in other markets. I kind of felt like I was done. I felt like I did what I needed to do. I won an Executive of the Year award, stuff like that. It was pretty cool. It was fun. And as I've always said, when it comes to radio, it's a lot easier to talk crap about running a football team than it is to help run a football team. But this group, I wanted to be a part of it, and I still want to be a part of it. So I think that's the greatest achievement is that this group that we pulled together, front office on down, coaching staff, my game day ops, my media people, my ticket guys. Like, I want them all back. My dance coach, Grace, come home. Don't go. Don't leave me. Come on, bring the Flames back together. Like, all the top to bottom, I felt like it was a group I could go to war with every week and feel good about no matter what happened.
Absolutely. Let's kind of move towards the future now. A lot of uncertainty for the league overall. I know our friend Tim Capper from Arena Fan reported a few days ago that member teams would return under a new banner playing arena rules. What are you able to tell us in regards to the future of the Firebirds franchise and the AFL overall, and are you okay with some sort of league name change?
I know we're playing, and I saw somebody put that we're playing indoor football. No, we're playing arena football. That's what we want. We're an arena football team. And look, I love the IFL. I think the IFL is cool as hell, man. I think that it's just a different game. Like, we're arena teams. We have 2 sets of nets. If you're not hanging nets, we're not playing in your league. Those things ain't cheap. Obviously the AFL has been, home before, and now again in a weird dysfunctional way. I really don't care what 3 letters are up there. I don't. As long as we have a schedule out, as long as we have teams that are worth playing, and as long as our fans are excited about the teams we're playing, I'm thrilled. So I'll leave that league stuff to the owners. I know I have the ultimate faith in our guys that we're going to be in the right league, And if the AFL can, now that and I will tell you this, I'm very very clearly, Gary Compton, Jerry Kurz, they make Jeff Fisher make a huge difference. So I don't think we could have finished everything without them. So what they think is best, and then what my ownership group thinks is best, I think I speak for Damon Ware when I say we will do everything to do our job for whatever league, whatever format, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. It's Saturday, 7:00 at night. That matters. That's about it. Yeah, arena football in Albany, it matters. It's got to be here. So I don't care what the league is. Let's line them up.
Your owner, Mike Quarta, owns the Atlantic City Blackjacks trademark. Is there anything about bringing that possibly back?
He owns the Blackjacks trademark, the Washington Valor trademark, and the Baltimore Brigade trademark.
Didn't know that.
Ultimately, first of all, we got to get everything straight here. Everything's got to go. There's still a lot of things that need to be fixed in Albany before we looked at any kind of real expansion. Because think about it. We kind of tried to do that. We went down to Columbus to help the Lions get stable for a couple minutes. We went down to Orlando to help out down there for a couple minutes. Both those things didn't work out exactly the way we wanted them to. I know the long-term vision, long-term goal is to get those teams back on the field. Is it us doing it? Is it somebody calling us and asking how they can help do it? I can tell you, if we had help, we could probably do it a lot faster. Mm-hmm. If there was somebody in Atlantic City who really wanted to work with us or whatever to do it, we could do it. But it's always been something we've talked about is putting the Blackjacks back on the field. The league is stronger when you have those power teams back. So he bought them to protect them and to make sure that they didn't end up in the wrong hands. Mm-hmm. So if they end up in, his hands, or if somebody's out there and they're jonesing to join wherever we go, and we can help them do it with this, that's a call that you can send my way.
What did you think about the season schedule this year? Would you be in favor of starting earlier and extending the season instead of doing 10-game season in the future?
I definitely want bye weeks. After seeing my guys, what they went through this year, the physicality of it, a bye week would be good. The reason we started when we started is it was tied to the NFL Network. It was supposed to go, Mr. Irrelevant walks out across the stage for the draft, and now live to Albany. That was the goal. So a little earlier, absolutely, I would be a big fan of that. I don't know how many more games we need. Maybe 2, maybe 4, but I don't even know if we need more games. We definitely need a bye week for the guys to be healthy, and most importantly, when we put that schedule out, that's the schedule. That's what I want. If that's the schedule, I'm good. A bye week or 2 and a schedule that stays put, yes, you got my vote all day long.
I still want a plane refund from that Arena Bowl in Minnesota. So.
Oh my goodness, man! That was that week with Minnesota was the craziest thing. It was, hey, we're on our way. We don't have rights to the arena this week. Okay, well, hey, come here. Okay, cool, we're coming, and then they didn't come. So that was an interesting run of luck right there.
Yeah. We started the season with Ironman rules and kind of reverted from that. Do you want to get back to Ironman rules?
I love Ironman rules, but I'm not the one doing it. Mm-hmm. I think so. Here's the two schools of thought. The Ironman rules make it a different game. If done right, you're still on the field just as much as you normally are, and we've got guys who want to play both ways. Like Trayvon Shorts wants to play linebacker or running back. Markel Wade wants to play corner and wide receiver. Like, we have guys who want to do it, but the downside is that some of your best players just won't do it. Some of your best players look at it and go, I just don't care. I don't want to do it. I don't care how many snaps it is. I want to play wide receiver. I want to play nose tackle. I think what we'll see, at least for the near future, is we'll stay with unlimited substitutions, and which will give us a chance to have the absolute best product on the field. Mm-hmm. Ironman's so freaking cool. I'm going to push for, even no matter what we do, unlimited substitution or not, if we do have players who do play both ways, I think we should still give out an Ironman of the Year.
When I talked to you in January, you said you wanted I asked you where you wanted the franchise at in 5 years. You said, quote, whether I'm sitting in this chair or somebody else, I want Albany fans to know that arena football is here to stay in the 518, end quote. What are you all doing to accomplish that, and what point are you kind of at the mercy of the sustainability of a league? We kind of talked a little bit about this earlier.
Yeah, the ownership group. I mean, it's weird because it's basically Mike Corda and I from the rep. You know, whether it was other owners involved or whatever. And I'm not an owner. I put mine's sweat equity. Like I don't. If I turn this camera around and you see the state of my kitchen right now, it's you know, you can tell I'm not a guy who can go and remodel a house in one weekend with a checkbook. I've got a lot of friends I owe favors and beers to, but to bring in like Andy Gelcher. Okay, I'll just start with him. So he's a guy that I know through my radio career. I met him when he was a general manager of a Honda dealership up here. He's now the dealer, the owner with one of those guys for a Chevy dealership. That Mohawk Chevy is the dealership, and his vision is it's eagle eye. It's miles in advance. So to have a guy like Mike who sees things happening and can adapt to them right as they're happening, and now to have a guy like Andy who sees down the road and sees how to bridge that gap, and they're both kind of, and even and Richie says that again. These are three guys who their mindset is, why would I rent when I can own? Why would I pay a guy to do this when we can do it ourselves? Why can I do it? Those guys, that mindset. Damon Ware's love for the Capital Region, we're always going to have a passion for it. So I think the only thing that could really stop us is the fans. The only and that's by telling us you don't want us here. You vote with your ticket. You know, come to the games, and we'll do what we can to make that as easy as possible and as affordable as possible. But I don't care about the leagues. You know, I just don't. I want to be league proof. I want Albany or the Firebirds to be so special that if we sign up with the just the Arena Football League of American Weekend Warrior, 60 letters, like whatever, that everybody else goes, okay, I got to be in that league because I got to play against Albany. Like, one of the things you asked earlier is how did we lose to other teams? We're everybody's Arena Bowl because we run our mouths and we're a good team. And we back up what we say, but sometimes we say it first. So I just want to be that team that everybody wants to play. I want the high tide raises all ships. I want to be a ship that's so damn big it rises the tide. So as long as fans come to MVP Arena when we have games, and we can continue to do good in the community like we've been doing this off season, I don't foresee this going anywhere.
If someone came to you and asked you what would you say needs to happen to create a stable league? What does that league need?
Sponsorships, like-minded ownership. A lot of it will come down to sponsorships, but even with sponsorships, the thing that I've noticed about having, all right, full disclosure. So Gary Compton's named Director of Football Operations for the AFL. I was a little mad because I wanted to be talked to. I wanted at least, I didn't know if I wanted the gig or not, but I wanted them to know how I envisioned the gig going. Mm-hmm. And then I met and talked to Gary, and I was like, that's the right guy. That's the guy who should be in charge of what we're doing. And then Jerry Kurz starts talking, and it's just common sense. It's just this, you just sit there and you go, the Arena Bowl. Nobody can figure out who's going to take what bench, whatever. I'm not trying to step on toes. I'm like, this bench is over here. We don't care. So Jerry Curtis goes, Billy's number one seed, right? I go, yep. He walks over to Coach. He goes, Coach, what bench you want? Coach points to this one. Okay, that's Billings' bench. That's Albany's bench. Good. I'm like, good. It's just those little, simple, while I'm sitting here trying not to hurt feelings, he's just like, there's an easy way to do it, and to have those guys around to guide the spear, get some sponsorships in here, get a lot more owners like our guys, Steve Titus and Billings and some of the other owners I've heard on the calls. Sorry, some of the names escape me. Like John Chaney. John Chaney goes through hell to keep that team on the field down in Orlando. It's not easy down there, and he keeps coming back for it. So you get guys like that where it's not just an ego project. It's a chance to do something for the community. Sure, there's some ego to it. We all want to win, but you get those guys, the right leadership, a couple national sponsors behind it, and I think you can watch this thing start to really, really grow.
No matter what business you're in, you're always looking to improve your product. You all have a great franchise and done a great job. One thing you can look at is your attendance isn't what it used to be. What do you think you have to do, or you can do, to bolster that and get back to where you once were? And can you do that?
Oh yeah, consistency. I mentioned it earlier. We well, number one is being in the community. We really, really wanted this time around to focus on that, because it's a little difficult in the off season. Your roster leaves, so everybody's like, oh, can I meet Darius Prince? Can I meet Jake Medlock? Can I meet whoever? Well, they go home. You know what I mean? So it's like you're kind of stuck with some of that. But with Spike, our mascot, and now with Damon Ware living here 365, and Dwayne Hollis, Brandon Cisse. Brandon Cisse lives here now. Our defensive line coach, who's on the rise, who's one of our best historical players. Actually, little trivia note from 18 when he came back, the only two guys who've been a part of every single roster are he and myself. So, and that's just because they can't find a way to scrape me off. But to have the guys be out in the community, that's huge. That people, no matter how much money you spend on advertising, it doesn't strike home the same way Spike being at a kids flag football game does, or Damon Ware, who's working with Hudson Valley Community College this year. That's all these things matter to people, and they notice that more. We did a night out, East Greenbush night out, and a lady came up to me and she went, "Oh, when do you guys come back?" And I was like, "Well, we just finished the season." So, but it's like they see you and then you're real, and then consistency. The moving the schedule around this year hurt us a lot. I think if we had been, so you were supposed to have 5 regular season home games. If 4 of those were 7 o'clock Saturday night and one was 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon, I think we would have been 6, 7, 8,000 people by the end of the year. I know there was a lot of people who complained about the neutral site for the championship game. If we have a chance fighting for a high seed to host a championship game, I think people come out more. But it's consistency and being in the community. Those are the two things that we've seen have direct results to what we're doing.
It's been a crazy season. What is the biggest thing you've learned, or things you've learned through this season?
I didn't know squat. Actually, you know what? It's the opposite. We know what we're doing. It's hard for me to say that out loud. I'm not that guy. But when you put our group together in one place and we're given an opportunity to solve problems before they become bigger problems, we can do it. And that just, my stress level just drops dramatically when I think like that, because I didn't know how to handle a crazy NFL wide receiver. I didn't really know how to handle an ownership meeting, of crazy dudes or whatever. And then I didn't know how to handle this league. And when you sit down with our guys, and our guy, each one of our guys uses their expertise. Mike Korda, Andy Gallagher, Richie Says, not Damon Ware, and then myself to a degree when it comes to media. You just go, okay, but this group can handle it. This group can keep it moving forward. So just knowing that, that's what I learned. I learned that we've made the connections, we've made the friends, we've made the moves. That if I need to put 5 games together at the MVP arena, with or without a league, I can do it. I can invite my 5 friends. I can throw a party at my house on a Friday night. I may not get 5 people, but I feel like if we negotiate properly, I can get a one-on-one with Billings, a one-on-one with Nashville, a one-on-one. We could do it with or without a league, and that tells me that whatever I tell my fans, I can back up, which is huge.
Absolutely. Last question for you, Jeff. Appreciate your time. You've had 2 crazy seasons the last 2 years, one with internal issues, one with external. Will the fans see a normal season in 2025, and what can you tell the fans about 2025?
At this point, Joshua, isn't isn't normal abnormal? Like at this point, if we kick off, there's no problems the entire season. If I don't spend any time in the newspaper for a crazy thing, isn't that the abnormal season? I do. I've been in a couple meetings recently that give me great hope that we will be able to have a season for everyone that starts and ends the way it's supposed to. Do I think that it's going to be easy behind the scenes? I wouldn't get paid if there was nothing to do. So, but no, I think when the leadership that rose, like cream rises to the top. The guys who rose to the top during all of this, they belong there, and it's, it may not be the league we planned, but I think the league that needs to be will be born from this nonsense. Our hashtag this year was Forged in Fire. We're a Firebird. We came out of the ashes of the Empire and everything. I think the league might get to say Forged in Fire this year, as opposed to just one team.
Absolutely, Jeff. We appreciate your time, man.
Thank you so much, man. And I know you got some time off, so thanks for taking the time to talk to me and actually ask me some questions. There's some reporters out there who just imply that they know what I'm thinking. It's not that difficult. Just give me a call.